So today what we're going to do is just a little short intro to the math. So let's just talk about some of the ideas that you need to know in order to do the first chapter, right? And again, these are things that you've seen before, but you might not remember some of the vocabulary, or you might just not have thought of it in this ways because it's been quite a long time. So the first thing we want to do is we want to talk about something called whole numbers. Now, you've seen this term before. Whole numbers are simply, and it's easier just to give a list, whole numbers are simply 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and ... Have you seen that ... before? It's the ellipsis. It just means it continues in that same pattern infinitely, forever. There is no end to the whole number system, okay? But when you're thinking about whole numbers, that means no parts of numbers, right? What kinds of things are parts of numbers? Exactly. So fractions, and there's another form of them. Decimals, you bet. There you go. Okay. And some of you may have worked on the other side of 0, to the left of 0, where the numbers are negative. Those are called the integers. So we're not talking about those yet either. We'll spend a lot of time with those in this course. If you haven't seen them before, you will be definitely seeing them in this course. So these are the whole numbers. And if you exclude 0, then we also call those the counting numbers. Because if I were going to count students in this room, what number would I start with? Just anybody sing out? 1, and then go to 2, etc., right? There's not 1 and 1.5 students, right? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But the idea of 0 is important because 0 means you don't have anything. Yeah, any students, exactly. Okay? So that idea of 0 is really important. So the whole numbers start with 0 because there is because you can have none, and then they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And on into infinity. So, okay. Now, our number system is done by place value. And just a brief reminder of this. So if I have 1, 2, 3, 4, for example, I'm just going to pretend this is a number, then the 4 is in the units. It has the most names, by the way, this one. Units or ones place. Right? The number is far over as long as you don't have a decimal. So what is the 3? What place is the 3 in, guys? Just sing out. Tens, good. The 2? Hundreds. And the 1? Thousands. Sorry, my notes are a little messy there, but get it in as best you can. Right? So our number system is based on the place values. So I could use 1, 1, 1, 1, right? So 1, 1, 1, 1 is just 1, right? No, because of the place values of the system, the first one is in the thousands, and the second one is hundreds, etc. So it's not the digit. Numbers are also called digits. It's not the digit that tells you how much something is, the value of something. It's its place value, right? Pretty familiar there. Okay. We're also going to look a lot at something called the number line. And you've seen the number line. I'm sure the first time you were ever introduced to numbers, you used the number line. And the number line for the whole number system starts at 0 and then goes over to the right. Because whole numbers, there is no whole number smaller than 0. And to indicate that they go on forever, we always put an arrow at the end of it. Make sure you put that arrow, okay? That just means it goes on infinitely. Do you know that word? Infinite means never stops, right? And so you can make a number line small, as big as you need for whatever you're doing. And as long as you include that arrow, that means that it just continues doing that infinitely, right? When you're plotting numbers on a number line, if I was asked you to plot a number or that simply means put a dot on the line. Right? You've done lots of that. So if I was going to ask you to plot 2, for example, I would just put a dot above the 2 on the line. So there's a graph that's a picture of the number 2. Okay? Now you'll also see what are called inequality symbols. Now, these are also known as inequations in some books. So you'll note, remember I'm from the States, so I may use some words that are almost like the ones you use, so feel free to correct me, okay? You guys have got to educate me as much as I'm going to educate you about some things, to use the right words, because you don't want to have to learn new words that when you already know a word to do something. It's a lot easier for me to learn the new word than all of you guys, right? Okay? And these symbols tell you that something is not equal to, so like it's not equal to 2, they're either greater than, or what's the other one? Less than, okay? So we'll always start with is less than. Now, I have a real problem with this book because they just call this less than, but in reality, less than means to subtract. If you're going to have less of something, that means to take away something. Is less than is the symbol. Now, the book just calls it less than. I'm sure you learned it as less than. I am not going to have it. Well, maybe I will. Maybe I'll have a little bit of a fit if you say less than when you mean is less than. But it's just to get it in your head that you can't have that later as you move forward, you need to know the difference. Less than means subtract. Is less than means numbers that are smaller. Okay? And the symbol for is less than is the little arrow point, and notice that you get to the point or the smallest part. The smallest part always points toward the smaller number, or the mouth always eats the bigger number. However you learned it, doesn't matter to me. What's the other one? Is greater than, or more than. Okay? Is greater than, and it's the same symbol just reversed. And if you think about it, those symbols are literally the arrows off the number line. Right? That way, smaller. To the right, bigger. Yeah? And when you're plotting numbers on the number line using these symbols, what you're going to have is you're going to have a boundary. Okay? So I'm going to change the screen. Everybody okay with me changing the page? You're caught up with notes? Okay? Always stop me if I go too fast, okay? Now, so what you're going to do is you're going to have a boundary number and a symbol. So, if you want numbers that are greater than 2, for example. Okay? So that means things that are bigger than 2. Yes? Go ahead.
What's that word at the very first one?
The boundary?
No boundary, the one that
Numbers. This is a hash. That's a symbol for numbers. Sorry about that, guys. I forget, you may not be familiar with those symbols, see you. So the hash with an S literally stands for numbers. That hash key is the symbol for a number. Good job, thank you. Always make sure, because I use some things you might not know. Okay? All right.